Hi, and welcome to a new episode of our Summer in New York City series. This is episode number 5, and as usual, I'm your host. Hi, it's Flor, and today we are going to be exploring Greenwich Village. So, first of all, some, I would say, fun facts about Greenwich Village. No, I'm not going to be talking about the fact that this area started around the 1600s when the Dutch came here, they settled, they started farmlands. You already know that. We've been talking about that for the past 4 episodes. So that part you already know. So I'm going to talk about 2 other things that had to do with Greenwich Village. First of all, that if you see the name of this area, you'll see that it's written green as the color green, and then wich, W-I-C-H. So maybe if you're not a native English speaker like myself, you will think it's Greenwich, and it's actually pronounced Greenwich.
Greenwich Village.
Which I know at the beginning it doesn't make sense, but then when you think about the origin of the word, green comes from the word for green in Dutch, and which means district in Dutch. So when you put it together on how it was pronounced back in the day by the Dutch and also in UK English, you say Greenwich.
Greenwich Village.
Does it make sense? I'm not so sure about it, but if you want to sound like a local, sound like a New Yorker, it's Greenwich and not Greenwich. Just wanted to let you know that. Second fun fact also has to do in some way with New Yorkers, and is that Greenwich Village, its limits as a neighborhood are 14th Street on the north, Houston Street on the south, on the east Broadway, and on the west the Hudson River. However, when you ask New Yorkers, people that live here, that work here, what the actual limits of Greenwich Village are, they would actually divide this area in 2 parts. You have the West Village to the west, of course, and then Greenwich Village to the east, divided usually by 6th Avenue. So we explore the West Village on our first episode of this summer series in New York City. We'll be linked up here right now and also down below in the description box. And today we're going to be exploring what people actually call Greenwich Village. Now, about the plan for today's video, I want to tell you a lot more about the story of this area, its main points of interest if you want to come and visit, what it's known for nowadays, and we're also going to be exploring, as usual, some places. We are going to have, first of all, a late lunch right after this clip, and then I have a stationery shop saved as well, and of course I think we're gonna find some more places on the way. So now that you know the intro and you know why we're here, as I said before, hi, my name is Flor. If you're new here, go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell so you can get notified of every time I upload a new video, which is usually every week. And of course, you can also go ahead, follow me on Instagram as Pereira, as you're going to see right here. Now, with that introduction out of the way, let's go out and explore. Let's go!
Flower violet green, lily of the valley on my knees. All the things I left behind, save this little place in my mind. I don't wanna lose you. It's too soon.
Greenwich Village area, one place that you definitely need to visit is Washington Square Park. This park is the heart of this neighborhood without a doubt. It feels so full of life. It's also so beautiful. It has a fountain right in the middle, and it has its arch, of course. So the park itself, it was built in the early 1800s. That's when the city acquired certain plots of lands that they used then to turn it into a park. And at that time, like I think 1820, 1830, this area became one of the most popular and expensive areas to live in. Actually, in that time, the Vanderbilt, Cornelius Vanderbilt, which is the one that started the whole dynasty, he used to live right around here. The actual house where they lived has been demolished, but it was right next to the park because it was a very desirable area to live in. And then in 1889, they decided to build the arch. It was to commemorate a new anniversary of Washington ascending to the presidency. So they built this arch that, if you look at it, it has on one side like a very young Washington when he was fighting along everyone else for the independence of the country. And then on the other side, you have an older Washington that is actually president of the United States. And even though the arch was actually built after the park first existed here, it is now one of the huge symbols of the area. Now, when you think about this neighborhood and this park nowadays, the area really changed. During the Gilded Age, most people moved from this area where Cornelius Vanderbilt had its first house more to the Upper East Side where they had the mansions and all that. And this started to turn more commercial. And nowadays, if you come here, you'll see that most of the area is dominated by NYU, New York University. They have now either bought or are leasing most of the buildings around here, and they use as residencies, they use as places for lectures. So if you walk around the area, you're probably going to find graduates from NYU, as I am seeing right now while I'm filming this. And you're also going to see lots of buildings that say NYU, and they're part of the university of their campus. Their campus is literally all around Washington Square Park. And I didn't know until a few hours ago when I was trying to learn more about the area that actually NYU and Greenwich Village have been fighting over buildings and plots of lands for a couple years now. Mainly because this area is a very historic area. It has buildings that date back to 100 or 200 years. And of course, the university wants to sometimes build new things or change buildings, and they get into fights. So far, I would say that you can find a mix of what the area used to be as residencies back in the 1800s with a mix of what the city looks more right now, with more modern buildings, with taller buildings. So far, I would say we have like a great mix, but I understand why some neighbors and people might worry about the whole area changing with time. When they got into this like huge legal fight, the university actually won, and they were authorized to build a few more buildings, which is their plan, I think, for 2050. But so far, they haven't built that much. We'll see as time passes how things change and evolve. And when I think about Washington Square Park today and why I feel like you need to definitely put it on your map for your next visit if you're ever in this area, it's especially because of that young scene, that university scene. There's always someone playing live music. You can probably hear this person playing the guitar right next to me. There is sometimes a piano where people can play as well. There are sometimes like full-on bands playing and singing. You can also find a lot of people selling their art, selling jewelry, selling paintings. It's usually filled with students, this area. As I mentioned before, having NYU surrounding it, you usually find people in their late teens or early 20s, which is also why some of the spots to eat or to drink around here are not that expensive, because they're especially catered for university students. I wouldn't say this park is for everyone. I'm sure that
Maybe if you're older or if you have young kids, maybe you feel like it's not your space. But personally, I really like it. I feel like the fountain in the middle, it's usually a place that's very inviting. The atmosphere here is usually very happy, very cheerful, also very relaxed, especially during summer. This area is a perfect place to be, to have a picnic, to maybe grab lunch with a friend, to spend some time. So I really wanted to make a point to stop here in Washington Square Park and show you around the area and what it's like to be here during a day in summer. Before we move on to our next stop, fun fact about Washington Square Park that maybe a lot of people don't know about is that this place actually used to have traffic. Traffic would actually go under the Washington Square Arch and also around the fountain. And that was like not that long ago. But what I found out when I visited the New York Historical Society is that a group of women, mostly mothers, they felt that it was really unsafe for traffic, for cars to be going so close to the park, to children playing here in the area. So they started a motion to ask the city to stop traffic and to make all the square an actual square and only for pedestrians. And they succeeded. And that is one of the reasons why now you can walk around the whole park, you can feel safe, you can be in nature, and there's no traffic because of that group of women, that group of mothers that did this petition many years ago.
I wanted to escape for a while. Thought that a couple of drinks could ease my mind. I've been thinking of you for 2 weeks straight. I know that I need to get myself back in the game. Someone said your name had to turn around. Suddenly you're there standing in the crowd. Everything comes back in the blink of an eye. It's like you're mine, you're still mine. They skip the small talk, cause you know me better than I know myself. Oh, mine's been a while now since I saw you, but it feels like yesterday somehow.
We are now on another place that, in my opinion, is a must visit if you're ever in the Greenwich area, and this is Washington Mews. Washington Mews is actually this street that you see this way, and over that way is a gated street. As you can probably tell, there's another set of gates that way. And if you're wondering what is Washington Mews or what this used to be, so Mews is actually the word for a group of carriage houses. So all of these houses that you see right behind me, there used to be carriage houses, and they were used to keep your carriage, your horses, your carriage driver, and also the place where your service, your maids, the people that worked at your house used to live and work. So if you happen to be very, very rich in or around the 1800s, you would get to live in this area, but not right here. You would actually get to live on the street that's on the other side of these houses or the other side of these houses. So the family that owned these houses would live on that side of the street, and then all the service that worked in the house would live on this other side of the street, and they were connected and sold as sets. For example, Richard Morris Hunt, which was a very famous architect during the Gilded Age, used to live here. Think of this street and these carriage houses as a very old and very expensive, exclusive version of what a garage in a house would now be. Because in that time, which sometimes it's hard to imagine because nowadays we have cars and we have buses and we have subways, but back in the day, if you were rich enough, you could have a carriage and horses, and that was your mean of transport, which I know sounds very crazy, but that was life back in the day. And if you're wondering which is the use that these houses have nowadays, you are probably guessing it right. NYU either owns or rents most of the buildings on this street, and they're mostly used as residences. So people that get to attend NYU also sometimes get to live and study in these beautiful buildings in this beautiful piece of history of New York. So quite lucky.
Better than I know myself. Oh, it's been a while now since I saw you, but it feels like yesterday somehow. Time has stopped, nothing's changed. We're the same, and we skip the small talk, 'cause you know me, yeah, you know me like nobody else.
feel like after talking about the university and students for much of this video, it only made sense to make a stop at a stationery stop like the one that we just visited, and also to end this video here. I really love the Greenwich Village area. I feel like it's great to combine a visit to this area with also a visit to the West Village. So I suggest you also watch my other video visiting the West Village, and also that you watch my other summer series in New York City episodes. We have a whole 4 episodes that I have posted before this one that I definitely think you should watch. I really hope you like this video. If that is the case, of course, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and you can also go ahead and follow me on Instagram as Pereira, as you're going to see right here. And now, with all of that, I am now saying goodbye, and as I usually say, I will see you on the next one. Bye!